Hi everyone, happy third week discussion. This week we're going to be focusing on cognitive learning theory. So this week we focus on instructional design and the importance of planning accordingly so that you deliver the right method to your learners. Cognitive load theory is a model that emphasizes that the amount and type of information that we can process into our memory. It suggests there are 3 different load types, and as educators we can use these different types to strategically deliver our instruction and devise impactful lessons by controlling the load. So the 3 different loads are intrinsic, extraneous, and germane. Intrinsic is basically how difficult the material, so the amount of the load kind of equates to the complexity of the task given. Extraneous is more external, so how much load's placed on the learner due to the delivery method. We as educators kind of can help with that by understanding what external factors there are. And then there's the germane, which is the prior knowledge built in. So with the schema, which is previous framework, if it's already established, then the load effort is low, whereas if not, then, and it's new, then the load effort's high. So basically the higher the load of any of these 3 areas, the harder it is for the learner to understand and remember what they learned. So going into detail, I wanted to share one of my experience I had as an educator with intrinsic loads. So you know that phrase, meet the students where they're at. It sounds simple, but sometimes we don't always do it just because of sheer oversight. And I had one of those oversights during my very first year teaching in one of my very first lessons. So I taught at a low socioeconomic high school in an Art 1 class, and I gave the students an assignment. They were creating these 3D model buildings. So one of the first steps was creating the base from 2x4s, and the directions that I gave outlined the dimensions that were needed. Once the project was complete, I found that the majority of my students' buildings that they made were completely off kilter, off balance, and what I had failed to realize was that most of my students had no idea how to properly read a ruler. I just assumed, 16-year-olds, they know how to read a ruler, and they actually didn't, and no one asked me about it. They just tried to learn it. So I learned right away that I had to do a knowledge check prior to going into a new project. After that, I got into the habit of doing an intro to a lesson, which was really a pre-assessment, and then I did a retro at the end of the lesson, which kind of told me what worked and didn't work. I found that I was actually mirroring David and Carey's systems approach model, and I didn't even know it. This model is very important for the intrinsic cognitive load steps. So basically on step 3 or stage 3 of the systems approach model, it states that you have to assess which skills your students have that are needed for this lesson. So with that intrinsic, how difficult is the material? We can kind of, it's going to be different for each person, but we really can meet the students where they're at if we actually know. So I find that determining the intrinsic level is easier. Helps make the projects run smoother. I do feel just on a different level that it's easier to work with as an educator at the K-12 level. I do think it might be harder in higher education because I think some skills are just expected of the students to already have coming into the class. So it's kind of one of those, it kind of poses a debate. I'm just kind of putting out there for everyone to think about is, at what level in our continuous learning is it the learner or the educator's duty to get themselves to the right load level intrinsically before starting a task. So that's about it. Thanks for listening, and yeah, bye.